What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to XJW Diaries. My name is Justin. So before I get into the main topic here today, I just want to give a big thank you to all of you out there who have supported the Life After Jehovah's Witnesses documentary. That was my first time doing a video that's more higher production. I had no idea how it was going to turn out, but I'm glad that it turned out the way it did, and I'm glad so many of you enjoyed it. And of course, I would not have been able to do that project by myself. So I got to give another big thank you to everybody who helped out with that project. I think it sent a very powerful message that you had all these XJWs from different age groups, different backgrounds, coming together and sharing this message that when you leave the witnesses, it's going to be okay. So my hope is that far into the future, that documentary can continue to help people who may be on the fence, trying to decide if they should stay or if they should leave. Now, just to give you guys a little sneak peek, I have already started the early stages of the next documentary project. And I want this one to be focused on people who left the Jehovah's Witnesses in their 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s. I think that would be a very interesting topic to explore. People who have lived their whole life in the organization, but who still have the bravery to leave. So this will be another collaborative project with my fellow ex-Jehovah's Witnesses out there. So if you yourself, or if you know someone out there who fits that description, who left the organization in their 60s, 70s, 80s, send me an email. My email is usually at the very end of every video, and we can get going on the next steps. So now let's get into the main topic of this video. And I got to give a big thank you to Ivy for sharing this information with me. If you haven't seen the interview that I did with Ivy, definitely check it out. It's a really good story. She went through a lot in that organization, and she'll be on for more videos in the future. And she's also taking a big part in the upcoming White House protest this September. But anyways, we know that the Jehovah's Witnesses take a very firm stance when it comes to the world's issues, right? They say that they are no part of the world. Even when it comes to world's issues that impact their members, they again turn a blind eye. They give that 4-word response of Jehovah will handle it, or the alternative, it's in Jehovah's hands. Either way, they're saying we've washed our hands of it. It's not our problem. And so because of this, we knew as Jehovah's Witnesses that the organization is not a charity organization. In fact, if a witness was to spend a significant amount of time trying to do charity work, trying to feed the homeless or build shelters in third world countries, they would get counseled for that, right? You should be putting first the kingdom. You should be doing what we tell you to do, not helping the homeless. That's in Jehovah's hands. But one thing that we did not understand about the organization is all of the umbrella companies that are associated with the Watchtower. You know, I've found since leaving the organization that there's this split, and active Jehovah's Witnesses may have some understanding of the workings of the religious side of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but they have absolutely no idea about the corporate side of the Watchtower. So today we're going to dive into one of these entities that is owned by the Watchtower. And not only is it owned by the Watchtower, but what this entity stands for is completely opposite of what the Watchtower tells their members. So I'm sure some of you out there have already seen this information, but if you're like me, this is brand new to you. And when I saw it, it really just blew my mind. I could not believe it. So I'm going to drop the link in the description so you can see it for yourself. And then I'm going to share my iPad screen so you can follow along with me and see what I'm seeing. So this is a website for IBSA London Properties. They claim to be a selection of luxurious and spacious apartments for sale. As you go down further into the site, you see that they have 2 buildings for sale. Now, before we go into those buildings, we'll just keep going down, because at the bottom of the website, there's some really interesting links. First of all, they have a direct link to JW.org. And when you read the About Us, it says, and I quote, IBSA London Properties is part of IBSA, which stands for International Bible Students Association, a registered charity acting on behalf of Jehovah's Witnesses in Britain and Ireland. For more information about Jehovah's Witnesses, please follow this link. And of course, that link takes you again to jw.org. Now, I'm sure that there is some Jehovah's Witness lurkers who might see this video. And at this point, they're already saying this is apostate lies. So let's just go straight to the source here. We're going to go to the Charity Commission for England and Wales. This is the website that lists information about charities that are operating in England and Wales. So here we see the International Bible Students Association. Their charity number is 216647. And under activities, how the charity spends its money, it says that they provide service facilities to support religious activity of Jehovah's Witnesses, arrange for venues to host conventions for Bible education, pay expenses for and take care of living arrangements for members of the Worldwide Order of Special Full-Time Servants of Jehovah's Witnesses. Then we get down to their income and expenditure. So we have some data for financial year ending August 31st, 2023. And they have a total income of over 40 million euros. Now, if you translate that into US dollars, that's around $43 million. Now, before we go deeper into this property, I just got to say, I got a few issues with this. And the first issue is transparency. As witnesses, we were told that the organization is funded through our voluntary donations, and we believed it. In fact, the witnesses have opened up all sorts of doors of other ways that you can voluntarily donate to them, whether that's leaving stocks and bonds to them, leaving the Watchtower in your will, and the list goes on. I mean, they even accept Bitcoin now. And another thing that's frustrating is that the witnesses have continued to give this impression that they are hurting for money. And yet, here we see that they have this other entity that I'm sure most Jehovah's Witnesses have no idea about, and they're raking in millions of dollars every year just from this one entity. So the second issue that I have with this is that it goes against what the organization teaches their members. So if we click on the first property and we go into the one that's still for sale, this is apartment 2, we can see it's listed for a little over €1 million, which translates to a little over 1.1 million US dollars. And throughout the listing, they boast about the luxurious fittings, the high-spec finishes, all of the high-end materials that were used to renovate this apartment building. And of course, all of this goes against what the Jehovah's Witnesses teach their members, which is to keep a simple life and to not go after things of luxury, to not go after high-end expensive things. Can you imagine any witness trying to buy a $1 million apartment? And if anybody was trying to strive to get a luxurious $1 million apartment, they'd be counseled for it. Brother, sister, why are you putting this much energy into attaining this material object? So at the end of the day, this is an exclusive, high-end, luxury apartment. These are the exact type of possessions that witnesses are told not to go for. And yet, the Watchtower owns them. The Watchtower is selling them and making money off of them. So this is just as hypocritical as somebody who tells their kids that candy and sugar is bad, but yet they own a candy company and they're more than happy to sell that candy to other people's kids. Same level of hypocrisy. And yet these are the same people who say that they are no part of the world and that they are different. Now, my third issue with this charitable entity is, what is the organization doing for its members when they're in need? I mean, that's what they say this charity is for. That's what they say the money is going towards. But really, what do they do for their members? If the Jehovah's Witnesses are in need, they tell them to go get government assistance. It's very rare that the Jehovah's Witnesses actually help their own people. In fact, in my own case, long time ago, my parents got into a bind. They needed help paying for a bill. They went to the congregation and asked for help, and they had a whole elders meeting to decide if they could help us. Now, this wasn't any major amount. We're talking maybe $200-300, okay? Now, in the end, they decided that they would help us, but there was a catch. So we went out, we got the money, we were able to pay the bill, but that money had to be paid back. And it had to be paid back within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, it would be a judicial matter. So can you imagine that? Here's an organization that's saying that they are charitable in some way, but yet when their members ask for help, the same members that are told to voluntarily donate as much as they can, but when they need some of that money back, they're told that it must be paid back within a certain amount of time. Otherwise, you're going to be disfellowshipped. I mean, it sounds an awful lot like a tax collector. So what this property shows is that they obviously have a lot of money coming in. And again, this is just one of these organizations. Best believe they have many, many of these entities that they own that are under the umbrella. They could be under the umbrella of another umbrella of another. That's what you can do with businesses. You can keep opening businesses of businesses. And number one, you can get through tax loopholes that way. And number two, it separates it from the organization, which makes it all the more harder for active witnesses to know that the Watchtower is doing these side projects. And so if they have all this money coming in, I mean, again, over $40 million just off of this one entity. If they have that amount of money coming in, my question is, why are they interested in investing in these properties that only the rich can afford? Why aren't they investing in properties that their members can benefit from? Shouldn't the Watchtower own and operate some apartment complexes that are affordable for people that are going through a tough time? Wouldn't that be an example of the organization actually taking care of its people? I mean, just think about the people that work in Bethel, that have devoted all of their life, some of them, to this organization. And when they get too old to work at Bethel, they need to retire, what happens to them? I mean, their entire time at Bethel, they haven't been giving any money into Social Security or Medicare. So when they have to leave Bethel, there's no money for them to retire. Where do they go? If they don't have a family member available to take care of them, if they don't have a congregation member that's willing to help them out, they're in a very, very bad spot. They're completely screwed. But yet, if the organization has entities like this, if they got that amount of money coming in, shouldn't they own their own building, their own retirement building that operates at no cost to anybody that has given their life for this organization? So again, maybe some of you already knew about this property, and I'm sure there are many, many more out there just like this. But for me, when I saw this, it really, really blew my mind. And just to know some of the struggles that witnesses go through worldwide, it was really a slap in the face. This organization is making so much money. They've got access and resources to make more money, but yet they continue to do nothing to actually help their members. So if you're watching this and you're a witness, you should be asking yourself, number one, how much do you really know about this organization? How much do you really know about the other entities that this organization owns and operates? I mean, you've dedicated your life to this organization. They require your full loyalty. So in return, isn't it fair that you know the in and outs of what they're doing? If you're an active witness watching this, the second thing you should be asking yourself is, why an organization that speaks so much about having a simple life, about not being materialistic, why are they selling luxury million-dollar apartments that are really reserved for the rich? Apparently, it's sinful. It's bad for you to try to strive to get something like that. But it's okay for them to own it and to sell it and to make a profit off of it. And not only that, since they're running it through a charitable organization, those profits are tax-free. And lastly, if you're a witness watching this, you should be asking yourself about the true structure of this organization. Because again, as much as they say that they are no part of the world, when you really dig down deep into it, you will find that the organization, as they call it, is built very much like every other organization in this world that they claim to be no part of. Just like every other organization, there's a president of the Watchtower, a president of the corporation. Just like every other organization, there's a vice president. And just like every other organization, there's even a board of directors. So this is the structure that any corporation operating in America has to have. And it just shows they're not much different. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you're a witness watching this, I hope you give this some thought. Here's an organization that says one thing about money and finances and prosperity and luxury. That same organization owns and sells properties that most witnesses have no dream of getting, and that most witnesses are encouraged not to get. So you really cannot ignore the hypocrisy, very, very clear hypocrisy that's going on here. So with that, I want to thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned for the next one. Peace. Take it easy on yourself.